Hey guys, Derek OKAHASHI with another video on moving to Oahu. This video is a bit of a hard one because we're trying to talk about things that we hate about living on Oahu and living in Hawaii. Now, I don't dwell too much on first world problems, and I'm in probably the best place on earth, so you can see why it would be hard to come up with things, but there are some challenges. So we go over 15, 16 things. We're calling it 15 things I hate about Hawaii. So a lot of the issues that we talk about tie into other videos, so we're gonna link to some other videos that we've done as well. We've really been liking the feedback that we've gotten. I'm connecting with a lot of you on Instagram and social media, email, so thank you so much. Hope you enjoy this video. Okay, so some things I hate about Hawaii. Travel. So my dad actually lives in Tennessee. They sold their house right before the last big housing crisis and made some good moves. They moved to Tennessee, and I love my dad more than anything in this world. If you look at my why for doing things, it's my father and my family. It's hard for me to go see him. You know, from California, when I lived in California, it was a 4 to 5 hour flight, not too bad. Now it's 10 hours, you know, with layovers, it's 13 hours and whatnot. That makes it harder. And if you're gonna be moving here to Hawaii and leaving people back on the mainland, then it can be harder for you to get back home as well. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but 13 hours versus 3 or 4 or 5 does make a difference. Reception. Cell phone reception, sometimes it sucks. We have mountains, valleys, gulches, places that are unpopulated, populated, so I find, or at least I'm going to find out if Verizon is the best. I've heard that Verizon's phone lines and reception are the best. I'm actually switching to Spectrum because they use Verizon and they're less expensive. So we'll see how that goes. I'll report back on another video. Our phone reception just kind of sucks. Everyone knows that if you're passing Waikele coming from the west side, you may start breaking up. If you're going on the H2 and you're going through the gulch in between Waipio and Mililani, I say, hey, you might lose me for a few seconds. It's just a common thing and something you deal with here on the island. Going to the beach is another thing. You got the Instagram selfie going, you know, sun's out, buns out, or sun's out, guns out. And you can't upload that video because reception at a lot of the beaches can be kind of junk. So that's just one of the things you have to deal with. Again, these are all first world problems. Wages. In business, no matter where you go, if you're in Oklahoma or Hawaii, you have the potential to create systems, leverage, provide value, and make a larger sum of money than W-2 jobs usually. What I find, for example, in healthcare, a career that I happen to know more about. In the California Bay Area, wages were a lot higher than they are here in Hawaii. In the military, you're gonna make good BAH here. If you're coming from Oklahoma or Alabama, you might think that the wages here are pretty good. Depending on the study or what Google blog post you're looking at, Hawaii is either the most expensive place to live or one of the top 5. And with that being said, wages should be among the highest. But for a lot of normal W-2 bachelor's degree level jobs, I find that wages just aren't caught up with the cost of living. Now, if you're military and you're moving here, the BAH is pretty good. It's somewhere around $3,000 for a married, you know, E5, E6. We can post the whole scale later in another video. Wages here against cost of living, they can be pretty crappy. That's why you see a lot of local people working 2 jobs or, you know, 2 or 3 jobs within the household, or multiple people living in the house because it's just expensive to live here. Sometimes you feel like there's not as much to do. Now, I don't think that this is something that I hate about Hawaii, but I want to throw it in. A lot of young kids leave. They go to Oregon for college or go to wherever for college. I think that's great. Whether you're bored or not, you should go and spread your wings. People can start to feel like they run out of things to do here. Now, if you like nature and stuff, that'll never happen. Some people can feel like small town, you know, rock fever sort of thing. I don't really feel it, but it's something that some people hate. Not a lot of entertainers come here. Like Bruno Mars comes home because he's from here, but not every artist is gonna fly out to Honolulu where there's only 1 million people anyways, given the population. They're just not gonna make as much, maybe not have as much shows. So entertainment can be a little less. Like my wife is a big Harry Potter nerd, self-proclaimed. I remember we went to this cool thing in San Francisco. It was like a symphony where they played all of the Harry Potter music while the movie played on the big screen. It was pretty cool. You don't typically find those kind of unique things here because the cost of coming out here and doing it is just too much. The traffic. Mostly people are talking about the island of Oahu, where we are when they talk about traffic, but we definitely have partners in Kauai, Big Island, Island of Hawaii, Big Island, Maui, Molokai, Lanai. There's all of these islands, but the island of Oahu sometimes has some of the worst traffic in the country. It can be bad, especially if you're going from the west side to town and from town to the west side. Culture. I actually love Hawaii culture. Not only do I love Hawaii culture, but I love that we have cultures from all over the world, be it from the military or just from travels in general. I love it. I love the respect. I love the aloha. But this is a video about what we hate. So for some of you people who are from a certain area and have a certain way of doing things, you may not like the heavy influence from the east that Hawaii has. Sometimes in our culture, people say things sort of halfway, but you're supposed to pick up on what they really mean. Like, no, that's okay. I'll pay for this one. Person may not mean that they want to pay, but you know, you got to do a couple of exchanges. You know, the guy behind me on the camera here, he speaks Japanese and lived in Japan before, so we've had these conversations. He fully understands what I mean. If you don't shake everybody's hand when you go to a party, it can be seen as disrespectful. If you don't kiss every auntie on the cheek. Now, if you're from a certain place where you feel like, I don't want to shake everyone's hand, especially after COVID, or I don't want to kiss everyone, or when I bring food, I bring the food that I'm going to eat. In Hawaii, you bring food for you, the people that you're bringing, and multiply that by 3. Everyone's going to leave with a plate to go home. You're going to bring beer, you're going to bring beer for everyone. So our culture, you know, that might be standard, and you might be watching this thinking, what is Derek talking about? That's the way we do things anyways. Well, maybe, but it's also sometimes not the way people do things. So some people may move here and get frustrated with the culture. Sometimes I hate the weather. Sometimes it's hot, and it's not cute after a while. You know, not every day are you in beach clothes and dipping into the cool ocean. When you're dressing in pants and slacks and shoes and it's 90 something degrees outside for weeks on end. This winter, we probably had 3-4 weeks of rain at some point. We had multiple weeks where it just rained and rained. Your car's dirty, which first world problems, right? The rain can just get kind of irritating because I like to go out in the morning and go walking and exercising in the sun. You're in Hawaii, right? You're in tropical paradise. You're gonna hang out in the sun and get your morning routine going. Well, luckily I just bought a house and we have a garage, but the rain in the winter can be frustrating. We've had 40 days and 40 nights of rain on this island before. Cost of everything. It's expensive to eat. You know, eating out, buying your own food. Now there's some tricks to this, but it's not a pros and cons video. There are some ways to get cheaper food or to grow your own and whatnot. But for the most part, food is just expensive. My wife just bought a laundry basket from the Navy Exchange. It was like $3 and something, under $4. The same thing at, I think at Walmart here was like $12. So if you're able to shop on base, great. But other stuff's just more expensive. With that, the availability of stuff, so sourcing things. So if you like to eat grass-fed beef, now we do have grass-fed food on the island or from the Big Island, but with there being a lot more limited supply, it's more expensive. So it gets back to availability and price. Getting things like right now, I'm trying to buy, or I just bought actually, a raising desk for my home office. If it doesn't come in a certain box, you know, like mine was the piece of wood for the table was in two pieces, so they're able to get in a thin enough box, but it'll either be more expensive here because it's hard to ship, so they only come on containers to retail suppliers and you have to buy at retail. Amazon won't ship certain things. Another example would be a rower. For my home gym in my garage right now, I need to buy like a squat rack and a rowing machine. You just can't get them here. You can't get, you know, just go on to Hydro Row or Rogue Fitness or whatnot and get these bigger items. You have to source it through a retailer. Maybe if you're military, there's like an FBO option where you can ship it through the military, but probably not. Not only are they more expensive, but that's even if you can get them. There's just certain things that you can't get here. Recently, I was buying a Traeger grill. On the mainland, there's so many options. The Green Mountain grills are cheaper. There's just so many these wood pellet grills available. Here, you really don't have that many options. So since there aren't that many options and it costs a lot to ship them here, they're expensive. With the cost is electricity. Along with the weather being hot sometimes, along with things being expensive, I think we have the most expensive electricity in the country. It's somewhere around 27 cents per kilowatt or 30 cents per kilowatt. Now, are there solar options? Yes, you can get solar, but those rules change from time to time. Sometimes it's less beneficial. If you can't sell the energy, the excess back, or if you have to buy the battery, you know, those are things we'll make another video on, but electricity here is very expensive. Talked about the grass-fed meat thing, but also like veggies. When I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, there were veggies, you know, everywhere. All of the kale for the country is grown in like Watsonville, like an hour and a half south. You can get local veggies here. We did a video on Mililani where we talked about Mari's Gardens, but in terms of having a health food store all over the place or a Whole Foods everywhere, that's not the case here. And if you're really trying to eat fresh, it can be expensive, it can be a little harder here on the island. Here's that link to the Mililani video. If you watch till the end, you will see the special on Mari's Gardens. Great place to get your fresh vegetables, locally sourced, even organic here on the island. Bugs. We just shot a video today actually on bugs, roaches. Hawaii has big roaches. We have not only big, which are like the American, or there's some other technical name that Ian stated, but we have the little German roaches, we have centipedes, we have mosquitoes, scorpions, ticks, geckos. I don't mind the geckos, but they're definitely pests here. You're in a tropical environment, so I lived in the Northern California Bay Area for a while. I don't think I saw a roach the whole time I was there for over 10 years. I can't remember seeing one. But in Hawaii, there are roaches. Everyone has dealt with ants in their house or car at some point. You leave a little bit of crumbs out, they'll come. So you have to be very diligent with those things. The cost of housing. Guys, right now, the cost of housing, the average median home price is above $900,000. You may be watching this video in years from now. You may watch it right when it comes out. That has a lot to do with these record low interest rates. So we did another video on why the Oahu housing market sucks. It kind of does and it kind of doesn't. For me, I bought a home for $725,000, but at a low interest rate. That deal that I got is actually better today at $725,000 than it might have been a couple of years ago at $680,000, because I'm paying such a low interest rate now that my monthly payment, how much goes towards my loan, even though my first payment goes towards my principal, is better today than it would have been back then. My monthly payment is lower. That's a complex conversation, but in general, yes, we do have expensive housing costs here on the island. Tourists. I kind of mean that and I kind of don't. There's a lot of tourists on the island. They're driving the Mustang convertibles and the Sebring convertibles, and they stick out. And you know, they're fine actually. They support the economy here. They're what Hawaii's based off of. But you know, sometimes the culture mix causes problems on the island. Some people might say that they don't like tourists. I'm totally fine with them. Doesn't matter where you're from, as long as you have respect, I think you're gonna do good wherever you go, at least here in Hawaii. We have no sports teams. So we do have the University of Hawaii sports team. So Wahine volleyball is a big deal. We have pretty good baseball for our division, things of that nature. Football, I don't know how the football team's doing actually, to be honest. I know we used to be good. I don't really know. We don't have like a serious sports team. We're the best surfers in the world. We have the best some of the other things in the world, but we don't have a serious sports team. Food. I don't hate the food. Obviously, Hawaii has great food. One of the things I came to like in the Bay Area was the diversity of food. I mean, there's Ethiopian and Peruvian and Guatemalan, you know, African food from different parts of Africa, and there's like English, German places, and of course we have some of those things. I've seen recently in Hawaii that there's this place called Istanbul. Looks like a cool spot. We do have a couple of Indian food places. You know, in California, there's all kinds of Indian food or Pakistani food, Afghani food. We are limited on those things here. We're very much heavily populated and influenced by certain regions of Asia, so there's tons of Japanese, Chinese food. I am not telling you where to live based off of ethnicity. We're just talking about food here. Take it easy. Comparing to a place like New York or San Francisco or the LA food scene, most of those places, maybe not New York, but on the West Coast, they still have most of the Hawaiian and Asian food that we have, with the exception of some specific Hawaiian food. You know, we just don't have a great diversity or great quality as on a grand scale. Disney. No, this one is for my wife. For me, I don't need to go to Disney every year, but one of the things that my wife loved about living on the mainland was that she could easily go to Disney and get her Disney fix probably more than once a year. For us, we have Disney Aulani here, but for you big Disney heads, you big Disney nerds, Aulani's a cool thing. It's only cool for so many days, for so long, so many times a year. Well, I don't know if that's true. It's always cool. You know, there's only so much you can do at Aulani. It's not like going to these big theme parks. You know, we don't have a Six Flags. We don't have Disney. We don't have Legoland. These are all the places that Hawaiians go to on vacation very commonly since we're close to the West Coast. All right, guys, so as I said, that was a tough one. Things that I hate about Hawaii. I think those are all first world problems. Hawaii is amazing. It does kind of suck that I can't get a good rower or a squat rack here through the mail. I have to just buy from the few places on island that sell them. But it is what it is. If you want to see a certain neighborhood, a vlog tour, you want me to cover another topic, leave your comments below, subscribe. We want to hear from you guys. I've been getting good feedback and I really appreciate it. I've moved to and from this island multiple times and I love helping to set you guys up and helping you learn about the island. So thank you for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one. Aloha.